on a little bit earlier just to make sure everything is working. Just give us a like and a thumbs up and everything else as you come in. I'm going to see who is there. Hello everybody, I am right here. I am just trying to get this onto my other screen here. And as you all know, I can be very ditzy and very car sometimes. I'm confused. Your day-to-day. Oh, hold on. Just need to get rid of this. Your life is chaotic. Set up a personal assistant in a click. Okay, I've got myself on the other screen. Hello, Washington State. How are you? I will be getting to everybody in a moment. That's why I thought I'll just jump on a little bit earlier so I can just get all these bits and bobs sorted out. And I just want to pull this blind because I'm getting blinded here. Everybody just grab a cup of tea or something. I've made myself a lovely pot of tea this morning because yeah, I can't really stomach anything major at the moment. That's why I was sort of absent over the weekend with videos, because at all intents and purposes to get all the others out for Saturday and Sunday, and then I don't know, something did not agree with my stomach because I have not been very well, and yeah, so that's why I was just not anywhere near any cards or any readings over the weekend. I started feeling better yesterday, but I still feel a little bit under the weather. Thus, me having my rooibos, which is red bush tea. It is from South Africa, and red bush tea is you only get that in that bush only grows in South Africa, and yeah, so it's a very, very nice, it's a lovely tea, and you cannot go wrong. Some people find it a little bit bushy, but I prefer this to any other tea. I'm not an English breakfast fan, and I am not a many other teas. I will have Earl Grey. I like Earl Grey as well, and yeah, so that is me. I just want to see here, and I'm just popping over to the chats here so I can see what's potting here. I see who is here. Hello, I see Michigan is here. Hello, Miriam. Margie M. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Sue Matthews. Hello, Sue. How are you? One of my regulars that I always see popping up in comments as well. What else is here? Hello, Loma. I see you from Washington. There we go. I recognize your name as well. Janet. Hello, Janet. How are you? Hope you are well. I hope it's cooled down in England a little bit and it's not so hot. And there is my New Zealander. Hello, Heather. How are you doing this morning? I hope you were nice and toasty. And yes, it wasn't as cold this morning as it was yesterday morning and the days prior to that. We actually hit -1 degree the other day. Not nice. Who else is here? Yes, yeah, Janet, I thought it would be either 9 or 10 p.m. in the UK because I remember when I was still in South Africa that with the other half already being in New Zealand, South Africa and the UK time are basically the same. The only difference is that South Africa does not have daylight savings. So that always just threw things out a little bit. So yes. And what else are we looking at here? Hello, Cynthia from Colorado. And hello, Cotswold girl. How are you? Okay, yo, Cotswold girl. You say it's getting hotter in the UK, and you say it is hotter here in the UK. I love it being an Aussie. Okay, yeah, I can imagine, yeah. So yeah, no, I mean it's you do miss those warm weathers. I mean, when coming from South Africa, we lived on the east coast, which is Durban. For those who don't know where Durban is, it's on the east coast of South Africa, on the Indian Ocean side, and it is where the Sharks rugby team plays from. So yes, I also come from those areas. But we will touch upon all those other bits and pieces. And as I said, because of popular request and popular demand and, a lot of our new subscribers and new members and new viewers missed those little episodes that I've done, and I've explained a little bit and given a little bit of my history and everything. You might have missed it, and so I thought, well, let's just do this in a live. And I am pouring my Red Bush tea. Oh, the smell is just unbelievable. And what I also like about this brand is on the little tea tags, they've got little sayings. And it says here, a healthy outside, and when you flip it around, says starts from the inside. I thought it was quite apt as I pulled that tea bag out. And then there's another one. They're all different. And they say, enjoy a mindful moment. So I really love, you get many different brands. The one that you used to get in South Africa quite a bit, you get in New Zealand as well, it's the Fresh Pack. But for some reason, and they're not a sponsor, but I just prefer this brand, the Red Seal. And it's the Red Seal that has got the bits and bobs in it. And also, one thing about Rooibos is it's caffeine-free. It's a caffeine-free tea. And also very, very good for... if you steep it and you let it sit for a few, like an hour or so, just to cool down, and you use a cotton swab and you actually wash your face with it, it's very refreshing and it's very cleansing. They used it sometimes for babies that had colic. They would give them Red Bush tea as well to help settle the colic. And yes, this is my go-to, and this is just my sugar, and I always put in a splash of cream first, and then I pour my tea. Here we go to everybody. And if you guys hear any noises and stuff outside, as you've seen in some of my other videos, they are currently installing new pole moorings and stuff. They're replacing with new ones, so you might hear them working across the water from us, etc., etc. Oh, this tea is going down so well. Excuse me, I'm just going to move this aside. This is out the way and I don't knock anything over. Then I'm not sure if Darlene from Heavens Above is online here. I know she has had some surgeries and everything else. I have just not gotten around to actually calling her. It's just been a little bit upside down and busy. And by the time I remember, it is already the end of the day. So, Darlene, if you're watching, I hope you're getting better and I hope you are mobile again and the whole lot. And yeah, we'll actually get to a point that we'll actually eventually hook up. And oh yes, and I just want to say thank you very, very much from everybody who lives on South Island. Thank you very much for sharing your cold Arctic blast with us up here in Auckland. Okay, thank you very much. I really appreciate the cold. I'm just teasing, guys. No, it's when that Arctic comes over, it's actually quite amazing to see how it actually pushes all that cold air right over the island, and then when it cuts in on that southwesterly, oh, that wind just never warms up. Oh, good. Heather, oh, you're also on your cup of tea with your rolled oats. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. And then for those that I teased with my Twisted Sisters the other day, I will leave the recipe in the community post. And then you can all put on a couple of extra inches around the waist with me. Okay, I don't want to be the only one doing that. Okay. Okay, I think let's start. Because I know on the replay people sometimes sort of like don't get the gist of this interaction and everything. So we are about 12 minutes in, and as you can see, I've got true crime on the table as well. If you stick around, if you can't stick around to the end, I'm going to be pulling true crime. And I'm going to give you the question now. And I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I have not done it. And I thought I'll leave it and the right time will come. And the right time has come today. I have been doing some research on, we all know Virginia Guiffre, one of the EPS workers, and the Andrew Downfall lady, and I've rewatched some of her earlier interviews and everything else, and something always just seemed to be a little bit off, and I looked at it from a body language perspective as well, and I just picked up some very, very strange body languages, especially from her. And then also from him at some point. So I am going to ask this deck today, after we've done all the other bits that you guys want to know. I am going to ask the cards. Virginia Guiffre, her husband, was he her husband, or was he actually her caretaker? Let's put it that way for YouTube purposes, her caretaker. Was he the person that handled that door handle? Very interesting. And I've been sitting with this for quite a while. And my guides keep on telling me, I need to have a look at it. I need to have a look at it, but I just keep putting it off. But I'm going to do it today. So I am going to put these one side here, and I will get them once we've gone through all the other bits. Cotswold girl, yeah, you are right. Something was very off there. There is just something very, very off. Also, do pop in. I'm busy redoing all the playlists and everything. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but I create all my playlists, and then the next minute, it literally will just take whatever new is loaded and throw it into the new created playlist. It automatically just does it. So I've literally now got to go and sit and filter through all the playlists, and pull out the bits that don't belong there. There's just not enough hours in the day. Between recording, reading, doing the private readings, doing the other bits and bobs that I need to do here, still trying to figure out the Shopify, Printify scenario with that thing. There's now a whole new palaver there, but I'll get there. I think I've eventually managed to speak to a human being at Printify. Not an AI chatbot, a human. Wow, it was so liberating speaking to a human. I can't tell you. I think you guys do understand. I mean, you put something in it that blurts out a whole lot of stuff, and it doesn't actually give you the answer you're looking for. And 100 questions later, you're piecing it together through 100 different answers. Whereas with one human, one email, done, sorted, and it's making sense. People are still the best. It can also be the worst, but people are the best. Sue Matthews, yes. You are correct when you are saying that Prince Philip did mention in the auto writing. And that has also been a little bit of a let me get to it. But I just have to make sure that it was the right time. And it was just sort of like between last night when I went to bed and this morning when I got up, and Zorro was chasing my feet and he was barking at me at 5 a.m. in the morning for his biscuits and everything. When I'm ignored because it sleeps on the bed, people's bed, but not with me. Again, last night it spread itself so wide open on the bed that I couldn't sleep on the bed, so I slept on the couch again last night because, yeah, he's little Prince. And Prince slept with the other half. And then this morning it woke up and it was like demanding my attention. Yeah, I want treats. Okay, now let's have a look at some of the comments here. Janet, you a very interesting comment that you've made there about the money, but he was with her before the money. He got married to her before the money scenario. So, no, yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, let's have a look here. I see Cotswold Girl and Heather's having a conversation here. I'm just trying to see what they're talking about. Who is 15? What is 15? Sorry, I missed part of this conversation between Sue and Heather and somebody keeping somebody on the toes. I presume it's a girl. It's a grandbaby. It's keeping people on their toes, and there's an 11-year-old as well. Oh, good heavens. I don't know where you guys have the energy for young kids. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, my lovelies. I have made some notes here, and let us get into it. This is at 9:19. I just want to where did I put that? Sorry, Okay, I just made to make a note here for my timestamp purposes for 9:19. How far are we? And then this. Okay, perfect. We are 20 minutes in. And now let us start about me. For those of you who don't know me, for those who have missed who I am, let us start. Me, myself, and I. That sound like me again, like old Marai. Me. Okay, me personally, I was born in South Africa. I was born in a small little town, sort of in the center of the country, which is the province called the Orange Free State. And the town I was born in, Harry Smith, has a sister town called Ladysmith. But the interesting thing is, Harry Smith falls in the province of the Orange Free State. And then you got the border where you cross over to the province, or you cross over the Van Rieren's Pass, and then you enter KwaZulu-Natal. And then Ladysmith is the first town you get as you enter KwaZulu-Natal. And Harry Smith is the last town before you leave the Orange Free State to get into KwaZulu-Natal. And an interesting story about that is, the town was named after Sir Harry Smith, which was the governor to the Free State and everything else. He married a lady, and she was from Spanish descent, and she was then called Lady Smith. So it is Sir Harry Smith and then Lady Smith. And a very interesting point is, rock melons. You guys probably won't know it, but in Afrikaans, it is called a spun speck. A spun speck. Okay, it is a rock melon. Okay, so how this spun speck came up? Lady Smith, she was from, as I said, she was from Spanish descent, and she used to love eating fried bacon with rock melon. And then all the Afrikaans people said, we'll just call it Spaans, which is Spanish speck, and it is Spanish bacon. Basically, it's the direct translation. Spanish bacon. Spawn speck. So it is from Spain, and it is speck, which is bacon rashers. So that's what they call it. And that's where the name Spun Speck came from, because that was her favorite breakfast. That's an interesting point. But that was the little town that I was born in. Yeah, I got this dark market. The only reason I don't like the sound it makes. It reminds me of writing on a blackboard. And my mom was a teacher, and I remember she would write like the screechy. Oh no, don't mean insane. But yeah, I'm still gonna find a better marker, because my favorite pen's refill is dried up. But I will find something similar. Now, okay, I was born in Harry Smith, and then from Harry Smith, I had a very carefree child life. I was the only child until the age of 4. We only two kids, but let's leave it at that. There's no contact. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to get into all the details. Not my choice. I've reached out, and that's life. In any case, so I was the only child for about 4 years, and I had a really carefree life. I was just, and my dad was working for prison services or correctional services, and he worked there for like over 30 years. And so we lived on it was like a small holding, a a plot, a small farm, basically, let's put it that way, where the prison was, and then they had all their vegetable gardens and fruit orchards and name it, and then the prisoners would actually learn skills to be planting and all that type of stuff. So it was like a big playground for me. And believe it or not, my babysitters, besides our nanny that we had, were the prisoners. How's that for fun? So, and there was no worries, there was no concern, because, I mean, the prisoners were with the wardens, and they all just knew they had to look after me, and they just had to make sure that I was looked after. So I was playing. Then my dad got transferred, and he had a promotion, and unfortunately, my carefree days came to an end. Okay, by that time I had my sister as well, but she was still a baby. So by the age of 6, my dad was transferred. And my mom was teaching, and she was teaching grade 1 students, and she didn't want to leave her students behind. So we were lucky enough to live in the same town, and Harry Smith is where my mom's mom lived, my gran lived. So we had to move into my gran's flat, and where we had our own room, but it was myself, my mom, and my sister. I mean, I absolutely adored my gran. She was my best friend as well. And it was no issue, but that carefree, just playing in the veld and playing in the fields and the gardens, just came to a halt. So I had to go to preschool, and I absolutely hated it. And so I had to go for 6 months. We had to stay behind before we moved over the end of that year, so that I could then start my schooling in a new town afresh. But now the trick there was, I grew up completely Afrikaans. I did not know or understand a word of English. It was foreign to me. So now we moved to Greytown, which is in KwaZulu-Natal. And a small little town. It is very like pine forest and everything there. And so I had to move there. And yes, we were a dual language school. So English and Afrikaans were taught there. Our second language that we were taught was English as well, but not in grade 1. You only started doing that in grade 3, I think. But in any case, so then my tonsils had to be removed, and I ended up in hospital, sort of like, was about 3 months after we moved to Greytown, and I couldn't understand a word of English. And I remember, and I was in this hospital bed by myself. In those days, you still had to remain in hospital. I think it was for 3 days after your tonsils were removed. And so I was getting through it, and I was just doing my own stuff and drawing, and and the doctors and the nurses told me that I have to finish a certain type of food. It was the toast or an apple or something that I had to finish before I could go home that day. And I was just not hungry. So I ate and I ate and I ate, and I ate what I could. And there was one of my friends at school, his dad was there as well, in hospital next to me in the bed. But his dad was English, but his mom was Afrikaans. So my friend was bilingual. And I just looked across at him, and I don't know where the words came from, and I just didn't. I said to him, I'm full. I'm full. And I pointed to my plate, and those were my first English words. And then I just picked it up quite naturally. But from there, then we moved to another smaller town, Kranskop. And that was a very German-orientated community. It was all the pine plantations and pine barons and sugar barons and everything that lived in that area. I went to school to Kranskop for 1 year. And then my mom and them decided no. They put me back to Greytown, because Greytown was about 45 minutes drive from Kranskop. So every morning at 5:30, Our little bus left with all the German children, and we traveled to Greytown. And then in the afternoon, we had to wait for the high school kids to finish, which was at 2:30 in the afternoon, and then travel back. So my day started like at 4:30 in the morning at that young age. Then we moved from there to Stanger, which is on the east coast of KwaZulu-Natal, and that is about an hour's drive north from Durban. And that's where we basically stayed for quite a while. That's where my dad and him bought a house, and that's where the humidity and the heat was absolutely through the roof. I then went sort of back to my roots, and I went to Bloemfontein, which is the capital of the Orange Free State, and I went and I studied law. In my final year, I decided I didn't want to do this anymore. I absolutely hated it. It was just not, yeah. So I had to break the news to mom and dad, and breaking the news to mom and dad, it didn't go too well, but it went better than I thought. I think they sort of picked up and knew that I did not really enjoy it. There was this, my mom could sense something. And then asked me what I wanted to do. And then while I was at uni, I got very involved with a lot of event stuff, organizing banquets, organizing this and organizing that. And I just fell in love with it. So I told them that's what I want to do. So I said, okay, you can do it, but we're not paying for it. And you've got to pay your student loan back yourself. Okay. Well, what are we going to do? Okay, so we found a place, and I went and I studied international hotel management. And with the result is, our classes were very structured, and it was very rigid to try and train you to be hospitality orientated. 8 o'clock in the morning is when the lecture started. If you were there a minute after 8, you couldn't get into the class, because 8 o'clock, you had to be seated, ready. The doors were closed and locked. You couldn't get in. And attendance counted as part of your final result. So, and you're hearing the ducks there? There you go. The ducks have come to say hello to you. So that's what I did. So I worked every morning. I had to be in class by 8 o'clock. It was an hour's drive from home. So I had to leave home at 6:30 in the morning, get to class. Classes would end at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I then had from 1 until 1:30 where I just took a break, got dressed and everything else. 1:30 I walked in at the Hilton Hotel to start doing my practical, because we had to do practical as well. But then I had to work. We got paid for it, but I had to do it. And I couldn't just do it like my other student friends that just did the mandatory two days a week. I was full time. And that was me. So that's where my hospitality career started, and it just moved up and up and up. And so that's me. Now, fast forward through all those things, going to 2015, we decided to move over to New Zealand, and it got delayed a little bit because there was a family tragedy in the process on the other half side, which then delayed our move and everything else, even though we started closing all our businesses that we had there, and wrapped up things, sold things, got everything gone. With the result then, in between all of that, my mom passed away as well, so that was now another thing. My mom actually passed away, and then the other family passed away later that year, which then threw everything up. So the other half then eventually came across in August 2016, and I had to remain behind because I had to keep paying bills and we had to pay for the immigration and everything. I stayed behind, and I took on some more contracts and stuff, and then I had to so eventually 6 months turned into 18 months. I was still living in South Africa. So on the 31st of December 2017, I boarded the plane and I came to New Zealand. So I landed in New Zealand on the 1st of January 2018. But the stay up in Auckland was only 10 days with the other half because my job was done in Whanganui, which is on the North Island, but central to the south of the North Island, where I worked for 2 years. And then the hotel got sold, and at that point I then said, well, time for me to move. So I then resigned and moved up to Auckland in December 2019. And then we all know what happened in the first part of 2020, don't we? That big virus that hit and just brought everything to a standstill. So that is basically the gist of it. So now you guys know a little bit more of me. Then 2 years ago, no, what is that? 2023, we started looking around because the other half said he wanted a boat. And I was just like joking, like, oh, whatever. So bear with me a second, I'll show you what I did. Because that was the furthest thing from my mind, my friends. So I went around to hospice and I saw this. And I said, ideal. Bought this, I said, here's your boat. Here's your boat. Little did I know. We would be starting to look for boats. And we traveled far and wide, and eventually we found this one. We bought it, and then on 2024, we moved onto the boat. And the reason be it, just give me 2 seconds here, my friends. It's starting to rain. And I just had to close the roof to the front of the boat quickly. So, yeah, and the apartment that we lived in was in Milford in Auckland. And they were starting to really mess us about because then the property's in the market, then it's not on the market and everything. And then they suddenly started putting up the rent and everything. And we just decided, no, we've had enough. Can't deal with this anymore. And because we are immigrants, we haven't built up all the capital and everything to put down a deposit on a home, because my home that I inherited in South Africa is still sitting there. It is still going through the registrar's office and everything, but my sister-in-law is staying in the house looking after it, and yeah, so that money is all tied up there. So we decided, own an asset, buy a boat, and that's what we did. And that's how we got to live on a boat. And the fun thing also is that you don't have to pack or unpack for holidays. You literally just hop on the boat and you go for a travel. Let me quickly have a look at some of your comments here. I've been talking so much that and see what you guys have been chatting about here. Okay, I see you are all onto the Giuffre. You are all onto Giuffre. Okay. Now, before we get to Giuffre, I promised you guys a couple of little ghosty stories. And I am going to start back in the year. Like on the Golden Girls, they also used to say, old Sophia used to say, Sicily, 1945. I'm going to say 1929. A little town called Stateville. That is in the Karoo. It's a very small little town. It's a little blip on the map. But that is where my paternal grandmother and them lived. And they grew up and the whole lot. So they owned a small little house, and back in the day, it was still built. It had a brick and whatever foundation, but the whole house was basically built out of corrugated iron. And then the walls were like built up and insulated. On the inside was a corrugated roof, and then they would normally have a stone fireplace, that the chimney that went through and the hearth area was in the house, but the chimney was on the outside. And at that point, my granddad, my paternal granddad, he started out as a wagon wheel maker and repairer. Then when wagon wheels went out, he then went into woodwork and manufacturing of furniture. And then suddenly came industries, and they started mass producing, and he just didn't have the capital to mass produce. I mean, his work was phenomenal. I still own some of his handmade works. And then he became a barber and a hairdresser. So he really went through a transformation in life. But while my granddad was still living in Stateleville, my two aunts, my dad's two elder sisters, were born, and the two girls were, I think, a year apart or something, but neither of them ever wanted to settle down. They cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. Especially my dad's second sister. She just wouldn't stop screaming. She screamed her lungs out, and they just couldn't work it out. So my great grand said, "Just give me the kids for an evening, so you guys can just get some sleep." Kids went over to him. Go back there. The babies slept like through the night. Not a peep, not a cry. You guys are lying to us. It's like, no, it's not. So I then brought my aunt, and they said, okay, we'll keep them another night or two, which they did, because they only lived about 3 houses down from my gran. And then they brought the babies back, and lo and behold, my great-grand said, I'm going to stay there tonight, I'm going to check. So she stayed the night. Come, hello, how was it? Those, especially my dad's second sister, the elder one then started settling down. Elder sister screamed the roof off the head. Just, she was like, no, there's something wrong here. There's something wrong in this house. And my gran is like, but there can't be anything wrong. There's nothing wrong in this house. There's no. There's something wrong in this house. And so they started looking, and they couldn't find anything. There was no graves, nothing anywhere nearby. So eventually, what they did is they moved my two aunts. They sort of it was only a two bedroom little place. It was very small homes. So it was a master bedroom, and then a little bedroom, and then a lounge, and then a little kitchen and a little pantry. That was the house. So they moved their cots sort of into the lounge area, and not a peep. And then my gran and granny, they never really spoke about it, because they thought they were both a little bit they're hearing things. And then the one evening, they were both sitting in the kitchen with the big Aga stove and everything, and they just kept hearing this rustle of papers, just this rustle of paper. And they both looked at each other and said, did you hear that? And my granddad was like, yes, I've been hearing it for a while. And I said, what is that? And he said, I don't know. And you see, I've looked up, I've checked the chimney and everything, I can't see anything. There's no bird nests, or there's nothing. There's no rodent or anything. And he was like, I don't know, it must just be something loose or whatever. So let's just keep going on. And one evening, my granddad was working in his workshop, busy making furniture, and my gran went down to go and check on him and bring him a cup of coffee and bring him some baked goods just so he can just have a little bit of a nibble. And that was about, I think she said it was about 10, 11 o'clock in the evening because he worked quite late. And so as she got there, my granny said, "Oh, you know what? Thanks. I'm so grateful you're here. I can't really go of what I'm busy doing here right now because I'm busy clamping things in place. And so, would you mind? I forgot my big rasp on the kitchen table." And my granny said, "Oh, yes, yes, yes. I saw it lying there." I said, I'll go and get it for you." So she quickly went up, and as she explained, she says, she does not know how fast she got from the kitchen down to the workshop. It was like she was walking on air. And she stopped, and my granddad just looked up, and he said to her, "You saw him." And my gran was like, "The old man with the white beard?" He said, "Yes." How freaky. And my granddad has seen him before because he was always up before my gran. He would sometimes come in later. And there was this old man, and my gran said he had the most blue eyes and this white beard and white hair, and he had his hat sort of resting on his knee. He was sitting on a chair that was always next to that where the Argo stove is, and that's where he sat. And he would just stare, and he would just stare, and he would just stare. And eventually they just made peace with it because he wasn't harming anybody. It was just strange seeing this person sitting there. And so they just, whatever. So now they both knew about it. So it was about a year later that my great-grand's sister, she moved in with my great-grand because her husband died and she didn't want to be alone in her home. And my gran and granddad needed a bigger house. So my gran and granddad, and they bought their aunt's home, and they sold their little house. And I think back in I don't know, I can't remember what she said they paid for it. It was like pittance, but in those days it was a lot of money. But so they moved into that house, and the old man didn't travel with them. So about 6 months after they sold the house, it was the doctor of the town. He bought the house for his daughter, and they wanted to do some renovations, and they wanted to extend something, but they needed to tear down something and blow us down. What did they find when they took down a wall where the corrugated iron was, and with the brickwork tied in with the chimney? A bag full of papers, hidden, stuck away. But when they opened this bag, it wasn't just papers. Back in 1929, in that bag, and back in those days, South Africa was still on the British pound, they found 1,000 pounds stuck in that bag, hidden away. So there you go. The old man that they saw was guarding his money. Or, as my gran said in hindsight, he was probably trying to point them towards the money. But they didn't know, they didn't find it. So the new owner, the doctor, who didn't need it, got 1,000 pounds back in 1929. And so, yes, these things happen. There's so many different stories about these paranormal activities and everything. So it's just amazing. I mean, and I think my gran, she was quite enlightened as well, because she could foresee things and she saw a lot of stuff. So she was really enlightened. So yes, I hope you guys please hit that like button as you guys come in. Please hit that like button. And show me that you guys are here. Show me that you guys are here. And I hope you guys enjoyed that little story. And I will save some other ones, especially with what happened here on this boat. With what happened on this boat. And Zorro. And the way what happened and what happened to a water bottle. Okay. Now, tell those kids they grounded, but not just grounded, take their devices away. That's the biggest punishment you can do these days. That's the biggest punishment. Take the devices away. That will make them stop. Okay, let us get these cards out. And I see you guys are all waiting. You're all waiting here for the true crime. Let's get the true crime out. I just want to move my teacup so I don't, because I will knock this over. Let me just move this. I will definitely knock it over. And we are going to ask. And you can see my production studio, so it's like sitting on the side here. There you go. That's where I can monitor all the conversations and everything taking place. So yeah, we're getting there. One of these days, I'll have all the right equipment so I can flip things and flip between screens and everything else. But yeah. Remind me, when we do our next live, I'll tell you about the story about this boat in Zorum, and then I will have to... You know what? Before I get into this, I have to tell you guys about the supernatural. I had this... I know we are going on a little bit, but I have to tell you guys. I cannot not do this story. I'm just going to put these here. You remember I mentioned the little town that we moved to, Kranskop, that little town that we moved to, remember? I told you about that, where I had to get up very early in the morning and go to school. Now, wait. My mom, she was chatty, she was free, she made friends with everybody. Going to the shops with her was like a punishment, because just going for milk and bread turned out into an hour and a half experience, because she would know everybody, she would understand everybody, and she would just talk to everybody. So it was an outing. And if ever we got to the till and she forgot something, I got wise to the fact very, very quickly. Mom, I'll run and go and get it, because I know I'll be standing at the still, waiting for the checkout, waiting for her to return, because she'll still be talking to somebody. I actually miss those days. You know, it's so much fun. But we all knew that was my mom. I mean, everybody just knew it. But anyway, so getting back to the story, Kranskop. And this is how the supernatural can actually affect people badly and in a negative way. And that is why whenever I love buying things at the op shop, I love buying things at thrift stores and whatever. I love bargains. And but I make sure, since that experience in Kranskop, that I cleanse and I clear all energy off that thing. But if there's energy that does not want to remove, that item goes. It goes. But it doesn't just go. I'll tell you now what happens to it. So, anyway, guys, my mom made friends with this very sweet lady. She was about, I think, maybe 4 years older than my mom. And they always used to like hang out and go for coffee and tea. It was a very small town, so you basically knew everybody, and there was not much you can do. But normally she would come to my mom, and she would come and visit my mom because she lived with a family. I can't remember, with a family member. So she just had like a room there. She lived with her, I think it was her late husband's father. It was old. Something like that. I can't remember. But be as man. And then my mom would have people over and etc. etc. And then she had other people over, and this lady would be there, and all friendly, pleasant. I mean, you wouldn't make anything of it. And then, for some reason, I mean, I was still very young, so I remember snippets of it, but I remember that now thinking back and going into my memory, things just started going wrong. Things just started going wrong. I constantly got sick. I was constantly sick. My mom and dad was constantly knocking heads. They were constantly arguing. They were constantly fighting. Things at my dad's work wasn't going right. Things would just break in the house. Excuse me, I just need to get a little bit more tea. But yeah, things happened. Everything just went south. It just literally just went south. And nobody could figure out what was going on because there was no real reason for anything of this to happen. Then my mom, one day, she was then asked by the lady to come to her house, and just, if she wouldn't mind just popping in. She had to go somewhere and just coming to have a look to see if her father-in-law or something was still okay, and because she would be gone a little bit longer than normal. So I was, no worries, I was off with friends. And this lady gave my mom lots of little things. She made things. Like little crocheted little, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was these little crocheted little doll toilet cover things that was all crocheted, and then had the doll sitting on top of it. And it was the toilet roll cover. It was very in. It was very in the 80s. And she made like little mirrors for my sister's bedroom, and a whole lot of things. She was very handy with her hands. And then, I don't know what happened. My mom went there, and she checked on the old man or whatever else, and he asked her to please just go and get something that he forgot in whoever's room or whatever. He thinks it's in the room. So my mom goes into the room. The door was closed. Opens the door. She goes inside, and she says she immediately just got this ice cold draining going all over her body, and she said that was very weird. And the next minute, she just I caught something to the right of her as she looked into the bedroom, and she just saw something very ominous black, sort of like moving in the corner. But she couldn't really make it out. And she very quickly turned around because as the door was open, she opened the door. So she walked in and something was sort of like catching her eye. And there was a mirror. And she caught something in the mirror. And she saw what she needed to pick up. She picked it up. But then her eye caught something in the mirror again. And she looked behind the door. And behind the door was hanging an upside down cross. My mother couldn't get out of that place fast enough. She then immediately knew. Immediately she knew that this woman was involved in that. And everything that woman, and then my mom, just as she was leaving the room, she just looked on the left-hand side as she came in. She saw something that looked like a Bible. And she literally just looked. She didn't touch it. She looked at it. And she saw Satan's Bible. She just literally got out of there. And then she knew. Then she knew exactly why things were going wrong in that house. So I was not aware of this because this happened. I was at school. So there I arrived. And for some reason, my mom didn't pick me up that day. Our neighbor came and picked me up. And I was like, oh, that's odd. There you go. So I get home. And there was like, as you sort of like, I mean, this was the house sort of there. And then there were garages over here. And it was the fence. And then we had the gates. And there was a wall between the house and the garage. And there was like a big courtyard area on the inside. And then that sort of like spilled over into lawns. And at the back here was a whole undercover barbecue area. But in this open area there, and the kitchen door was leading out there. I walked in through this little opening, came and doodle. There's my mother with these big 50-litre, these big oil drums, flames going everywhere. And I just see her throwing all these beautiful little gifts that this lady has given her in the fire, burning it. And I'm like, Mom, are you crazy? Have you lost it? And she's like, no, I haven't lost it. This is why everything's been going wrong. So I'm like, and I was like 7, 8. I was 10 years old. 10, 11. Yeah, around there. And I just looked at these big eyes. I was 10. I just couldn't believe it. We didn't grow up in a house where we would talk around riddles and stuff. I mean, we were spoken to as adults from a young age. No baby talk, no nothing. We would talk big people's talk. And and that was it. And my mom said to me, the lady that gave the stuff to us was a practicing Satanist. And then my mom found out in that morning that she was actually quite high up and she was like a priestess. So she literally just burnt everything. So, and it just shows you how bad energy can be attached to things that are given as good intention. So, if ever you find something that you bring into your home that is old or has been around, clear it, cleanse it, sage it, leave it in the sun, whatever. Don't just take it directly into your home. And I've learned this from experience throughout life as well. Don't just take it directly into your home. Just leave it out for a bit. Put it in the garage. Put it under a cover. And just clear it. Put it in the sun. Sage it. And then take it into your home. Because I've had many things. And sometimes I couldn't put my finger on what it was. Because I buy a lot of stuff, antiques and old stuff and repurpose things, and that is just the way it is. So yes, that story is that story. So now let's leave in from one bad thing to another. Giuffre. We are exactly an hour in. An hour in. An hour in. Okay, let's have a look at some comments. Yes, Janet, saging and salt. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Who else is here? Sorry, I just want to catch up here. You guys are having such a chat here, and I sometimes lose it here. Bad juju, yes, bad juju. Oh, here. How many? 10 to 12 teapots. Oh, I love teapots. I went through a phase where I was glassware and tea set crazy. Whenever I saw different types of glasses, different types of tea sets and whatever, I just had to have it. I just had to have it. Moving to New Zealand, some of my stuff is still sitting in storage in my house in South Africa, but we basically got rid of everything. It's just family heirlooms and stuff that is there, of which I think there's about 5 or 6 different tea sets and dinner sets. But I didn't have anything. So what did Monkey do? The first time that he spotted a very nice tea set down in Wanganui, he went and go and bought it. And it's just like crazy. Then on a little trip we did from Auckland down to Wellington, on the way back, we stopped in a little town called Greyton, and there was like a little op shop thingy there. We weren't really going to buy anything. Walked in, and what did I spot? The most amazing full Noritaki dinner set. Unbelievable. Beautiful. Also, like, if you have a look here, like what I'm currently drinking out of, my Noritaki. I just love Noritaki. I don't know what it is about it, I've just always loved it. So when I saw that, I just loved it. Okay, let us get into this. Virgina Guiffre at 1 hour and 7 minutes. Virgina Guiffre. Virgina Guiffre. Can you tell us something about her husband, the guy that she was married to? For the life of me, I can't remember what his name is. I think it was Robert or Bob or something. I can't remember for the life of me. But Virginia Guiffre's husband that she has the children with. Can you tell me anything? Can you tell me anything about it? Can you tell me anything about? Look what's lying underneath here. This is apparently how she went. So the cards are listening. Cards are listening. I did not leave that card on there, but you saw. Can you tell me anything about what went on there? Anything. Give me any information. Okay, these cards, okay, they're ready. They are. Look what flipped over, money. Okay. Can you tell me anything about him? Can you tell me, was he a handler? Was he her informant? Was she really offed? Was it just a ploy? Because something just never sat right with those accidents and everything else, and he's just gone quiet. Zappity-doo-da-day. Disappeared into oblivion. Probably in the outback, who knows. But something is just not right then. Was he her handler? Was he her protector? Was he her I don't know. They would, in my opinion, they would not. It was a marriage of convenience, in my opinion, for some reason. Okay, let's have a look. Cards are ready. I've given them a good shuffle, and the slipperiness of the cards are starting to subside a little bit. The more I use them, but they're not 100% non-slip yet, but they are getting better. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Can you tell us anything about the husband? And extended to Virginia. I don't know. Let's just see. Power supply. The cards, my friends, the cards are listening. The cards are listening. Look here, hidden. I'll explain the cards to you now. I'll explain the cards now. Accomplice, partner in crime. Intuition. Oh my glory. Okay. Let's have a look here. We asked, was there somebody? There was power behind him. And we all know that Virginia was connected to the boat days. We all know that she was convenient, that she was part of the boat days. But they met after her boat days. But conveniently. And the real reason, she went into hiding. But there was an accomplice. There was an accomplice. There was an agreement made. And this intuition card is telling me that we are onto something. Because remember I said, was he maybe a handler? And this is telling me we need to trust our intuition. There's definitely power behind it. Behind this whole thing, there is definitely power. Let's pull. Look at this. Look there. Organized crime, my friends. Lies. Trapped. Look at the power. Look at the boat. Look at organized crime. And doesn't this face remind you of a younger version? Please just hit that like button when you're coming in. Let us see. Wasn't he part of organized crime? And the boat. There's hidden. Here's all the lies. There's lies. It's the magician. It is like, look here. Ta-da! But I'm a chameleon at the same time. I'm a chameleon at the same time. She was spun a lie by him. And there's definitely an agreement. And I don't think she actually ever really got away and disappeared into oblivion. People do forget. People do very easily forget. And I've read in-depth research about her. People very quickly forget that yes, she is a victim. I'm not taking anything away from victims. She was a victim of circumstance. As even in her book, she is a victim of circumstance. If you read a book, she was actually dropped off by her parents at said house later on. She was paid very, very well. She made enough money. And what people also forget is that Miss Giuffre got paid to bring new workers in. People forget that she was not just a victim. She also contributed to making people victims. She pulled people in. But that just gets glanced over. It's in her book too, if I remember correctly. But people gloss over it. They forget that she was just as bad, to an extent, as Ghislaine. And there again, Andrew was trapped. I don't know why I just said it. Andrew was trapped. That was a trap. Yes, he always, I think it was in the Prince Philip reading, he was always known as Randy Andy. But we don't know. But look here, there's organized crimes. Things are hidden. Things are chameleon. We're trapped. We're asking about her husband. It's all lies. He was a chameleon. Look at this card. Desert. I'll explain the desert card to you now. Legal proceedings. Because they were going through a divorce. Which is the legal proceedings here. And her kids were taken away from her or whatever. It's legal proceedings. But she was trapped. She couldn't get away. This desert card reminds me of the country that borders the pyramid country, the one that is currently at war with the other country. Let's just say Yahoo's country. That's what this comes to me. Because it has been confirmed, in inverted commas, that Epps was connected to the intelligent agency of the Star Country, the Blue Star Country. Sorry, I'm talking in code. I just don't want this to be demonetized or taken off or whatever. But it's definitely, and Maxwell's father was also involved in that country, from where the Israelites moved from to back. They moved from the pyramid country back to where they are currently, 40 years through the desert. But on this side here, we know there were legal proceedings and stuff from her side, but also she was going through there was a big hoo-ha. I think the kids were taken away, or I can't remember that whole part. Burial. Things are buried. Things are hidden. Lies buried. Okay. I want to look what's underlying. Because the way I'm reading it here, I'm not reading it as like a hole in the ground dug and bones in there. This is like things are buried. Things are buried. Let's look at underlying. How on earth the cards have been listening? Marriage, wedding. Look here. Life insurance. Let me pull more cards. Oh my glory. Guys, look here. Did you guys see what I saw? Have you seen what's just come out of here? Marriage. Life insurance. Fake death. Alive. Male. She got married. And look here how it's sitting here. Look how that life insurance is sitting with the boat, organized crime, and life insurance. And look how the fake death fell on the center of the deck here. Fell on the center of the deck with hidden lies, burial, fake death. And then look here, alive and male. This all points me to a alleged conclusion. Let's look at the alleged conclusion here. She was handled. That marriage was an insurance policy. She was too big an asset. I'm telling you guys now, she was too big an asset. She knew too much where the bodies are buried, where all the information is buried. They could not let her talk anymore. But they got out of her what they needed. They got from her what they needed. They got the man. They got Andrew. But a man was involved in. Anything else? Can you give me anything else here? Anything else? And remember we were talking about her husband? Talking about her husband? Oh, that's what that. What's this? Beach. Beach, beach, beach. All alone, standing all alone on the beach. Not very many people knew about it, and I think she might be at a beach. But yes, I'm telling you now, her husband was placed there for a reason. Just go back now that you've seen this reading. Clean up. Now that you see this reading, go and watch that interview that was done with her and her then husband, and just have a look at the body language. It's all making sense to me now. It is all making so much sense. I'll have to go and rewatch it. Clean up. Back to clean the mess up. We had to clean the mess up. Man-made disaster. Man-made disaster. Was created by man. And let's put a last card and see. So, let's look here. That's all a cover up. It's all a cover up. And look there. Death cover up. Death cover up. It's all fraud. It is all fraud. So my friends, live here, not a recording, live, pull the cards in front of you. Miss Giuffre was handled. She was never really gone. She was never really out of that world, but they got what they wanted. They got what they wanted. And according to the cards, for fun and entertainment purpose only, allegedly, her husband was her handler, the one that she was divorcing. How long have you been going? We're already in an hour, 24 minutes. I want to ask, do one thing. I want to ask guys one thing. No, I don't know how I want to formulate it. I do not know how I want to formulate it. Sorry, I'm just stopping here for a second. I'm just catching up with you viewers here quickly. I just want to have a look here. Barbara, also writing on Virginia. I have tried connecting. For many times, I've tried connecting. And there is just nothing coming through. Nothing is coming through. I'm not even picking up a tingling or a sensation or anything. So I don't know. I really don't know. And normally if it doesn't come out as clear that somebody's coming through, I will either get a download that says to me, or I'll get a feeling that says, no, don't read on it. It will just say, don't. But there is just nothing. And I think with what I've just pulled here now, I think the cards have said to me that allegedly she's still with us, but she is in hiding. She was too great an asset. And I think she had knowledge in her head that people need it. That was on no database or whatever else, and she knows where that information is. And seeing that it is connected to the Blue Star country, they would have the intel and they would need that intel. Because look how Yahoo has manipulated the USA into a war. Why? Because they've got the intelligence. That's just my opinion. And who knew more about the connection between Epps and the current White House boss? But Miss Giuffre. And the other one is Miss Mixwell. His other assistant, she's like, nobody knows where she is. Very interesting. Something that I did find at one point, somebody that was connected to Epps in his security or something in those lines has disappeared. Has disappeared off the radar, but is living in a very cushy life somewhere in the Hamptons. Somewhere in the Hamptons. Very cushy life. But off the radar, and is still involved with that spy agency. So she knew a lot more, and that is why they needed to get away. I see slip on my. Yes, Kathy, I have done a number of readings on Epps and being alive. I have done a number of it. As I said in the beginning, I'm busy going through rearranging the playlists and everything. But there is a whole one. I think I have actually set that to unlisted at the moment. But there's a whole series. There's a whole series of them about Epps and all those connections. And I even went deeper in that early, and for all the new subscribers and stuff, you will not have seen it. But there's also a very interesting thing because you guys know all about this whole palaver with Albania and the dealings and wheelings that has gone on there with the Ivanka and Jared, with that island thing there. I've done a reading, and we all know that Mr. Peter Thiel has now moved to Argentina, and we all know that he's got a property here in New Zealand on South Island, his bunker. And it's just come up. Now, I did a reading months and months and months ago. There is a group of islands in the Maldives, and it is owned and operated by, I think it is, I remember correctly, 6x6 investment or something in those lines. I will try and find that reading, and that reading has basically told me, and it is now coming out more and more and more, all these little island enclaves and stuff that is being built for the super wealthy across the world, like these estates, just for the super wealthy that you can only access by helicopter or boat. It's all set up to protect people like that. Because that one specific island is on development. It's supposed to open in 2026, I think. Everything is so high secret. They have got specialized data cables that supply them the closed circuit data internet. You can only reach it by boat or helicopter. And they're all off grid. And it is just a very, very super wealthy that is them. And the guy who is in the development of it, I can't remember his name now. He is a big hotelier, and he is actually, his father is very highly connected in the UAE. He was an ambassador or something for them at some point. So it's all the islands. So much can happen on islands, so much can disappear on islands, so much people don't know that goes on islands. But the latest is now that they are setting up these islands that is just for the super wealthy, and that they can actually move assets, not just Bitcoin assets or other assets, but human assets across. Because, sorry, I'm just going down the road now, and that's something I also researched back in the day, and I actually need to do a reading on it. Why are there only certain people that are really high profile that is now coming out, like Mr. Will Bates, Mr. Will Bates, Andrew? Why was Epps in the firing line? Why is Mr. Trumpy in the line? Why is Alan Dershowitz in the line? Etc. etc. You sort of see a pattern with some of these things, okay? Because back in the day, remember, when we look at the 80s and the 90s, information and gathering and stuff of people had to be in person, and it was catching people in a scandal of existential proportions. They had to catch them in those compromised positions so that they can blackmail them, so that they can get access to people that are higher up, that they can control people. That's how they used to do things. But now, in our new modern digital age, do we need it? No. Your information, your everything can be found at the click of a button. Everything can go into a system, and it's a click of a button, they've got your stuff. Sorry, I sound like a conspiracy here, but that is what it is. Your data is your Achilles heel. And for the super wealthy, when they've got your data and they gather your data, can they control you? But now, these people that are falling, Mr. Yates, Mr. Will Yates, why was he not sort of caught up in this? Because they wanted his data. They wanted the information that he collected over years and years and years with data. All the research and stuff that was done, and when I'm talking about viruses, I'm talking about computer viruses. Because computer viruses has a trend and a trajectory of forecasting what can happen in society. He's no longer needed. Andrew is no longer needed. He served his purpose. And he couldn't get what they really wanted. So he was toast. So that was leak. Dershowitz, he's a lawyer. They need lawyers for things. Etc. He's got to see a pattern going here. And I will do a reading and see why these names that we see has fallen. Well, I don't know so much about trafficking, but I know we've got Goat Island here, and there's a major data center cable that runs underneath Goat Island. Yeah. So, and yeah. So there is. New Zealand does have some tunnels, but not as many as you think, and a lot of them are very derelict from World War II. One thing that people don't realize in Auckland, where the university area and stuff is, people don't know about it, but there's a whole network of tunnels underneath that area, which is Simmons and Shortland and Mayoral Drive or something. Those are, it's full of tunnels, and that was all built for the Second World War, but they are closed off and they are under they you can't access them. But yes, it's not that easy to get into New Zealand with contraband and things like that. I mean, I just look when we are trying to just bring furniture and stuff over from South Africa. Loops you got to do. Our border controls are very, very strict here. But yes, definitely, there is definitely a connection, and also New Zealand is very, very far off the radar compared to other countries. On some world maps, we don't even appear on the map. So yes, it's very easy to slip underneath the radar here if you really want to. You can disappear. Okay, my friends. I hope you guys enjoyed my ramblings. I hope you enjoyed the reading. And now, allegedly, according to the cards here, organized crime was definitely behind Giuffre's husband. Definitely. And she was trapped. Okay. Okay, my friends, thank you very much for joining me. Sorry for carrying on so long. I didn't mean for this thing to carry on for an hour and a half. Good grief, have we already gone that past? Love you all. Bye-bye. Speak to you soon. Cheerio. Bye.